Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm pretty sick. I got bad allergies, but there have been so much new news in the NFL. Tyreek Hill's been traded. Uh, whole Baker Mayfield situation. Texans have a new pick. So I wanted to get into a mock draft. I haven't done one of these in about like a few week maybe. So we're gonna get into it. The Jaguars at first. I know I've been mocking them, Aiden Hutchinson, but they didn't sign Armstead, which I thought they probably had a chance to. The Dolphins signed Armstead, but Evan Neal I think is still in play. Your right tackle is not secure, and plus Ken Robinson is on the franchise tag. So I'm gonna go with the original move that I would make. I would go with Evan Neal here. The Lions. Now, this is gonna be interesting because Malik Willis he had a really good pro day, and I know that fans overreact to pro days and to combines, but I also had a comment on my last mock draft talking. I drafted. I don't know. I think I drafted a quarterback to the Lions, and they were talking about how. Let me just say this. I love all the comments. I love engagement, and it's a respectable debate. So the comments said that Jared Goff was a top 10 quarterback, and they would develop him to be back where he was when he was on the Rams. First of all, Dan Campbell is not Sean McVay. He's not even close as a play caller. Second of all, the roster and the receivers on the Ravens or on the Rams are way better than the receivers right now on the Lions, and the Lions are a rebuilding team. And so, would they want to go with a guy like Malik Willis at 2? Would they want to wait until 32 or trade up to try to get your quarterback? Also, there is an opt out. There's an opt out on his contract in 2023. So this is leading to me to believe that Malik Willis can sit a year and then he can develop. And Malik Willis I will say that he is the best quarterback in this draft. Kenny Pickett, he's literally got like my hands. He had like 8.5 inch hands. Those are the same size as my hands. But anyways, the sorry, the Texans at 3. So Aiden Hutchinson has fallen to 3 at this point. And would they want to go BPA, which it would be Aiden Hutchinson, or would they want to go with Kyle Hamilton, who I think is possibly the best player in this draft? What I would go with is I would probably go with BPA of position of need. And since Aiden Hutchinson is your biggest position of need, you have to go with him. Now, with the Jets, you have to, now that Tyreek Hill is in your division, you have to think, should we try to neutralize Tyreek Hill by having 2 deep or by picking up Sauce Gardner at 4? Or do you want to get an edge rusher so that you can neutralize guys like Tua Tagovailoa? And we saw what happened with Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl champ when he didn't have an offensive line and the edge rushers were just screaming at him. Regardless of what you have, edge rusher or edge is the most important position for the Jets scheme. That's leading me to believe that edge rusher is their top need, since the Jets don't have another edge or another star edge other than Carl Lawson, who was out with an Achilles last year. The Giants, I'm going to go with the best offensive tackle available, and that's going to be Ike Mekwonu. The Carolina, I'm going to go curveball here. I'm saying that they've been rumored that they like Kenny Pickett a lot, and plus Sam Darnold is not it. I've been saying this. Sam Darnold's not a good quarterback. So you need to move on. You need to try to do as much as you can to move on from Sam Darnold. Nobody's going to buy him, so you might just have to cut him. And I think that to move on, you got to go with Kenny Pickett. Or you can go with Malik Willis if he doesn't fall. 7, the Giants. I'm going to go with Trayvon Walker. He's the next best edge. Or you could go with Jermaine Johnson if you want. But I think Trayvon Walker's ceiling is just a bit higher. even though Jermaine Johnson was dominant at the Senior Bowl and dominated at FSU. But Trayvon Walker, if he gets used truly as an edge, I think he could possibly have like a Micah Parsons here, where he kind of just comes out of nowhere and is one of the best players in the draft. The Falcons, I'm leading towards receiver, but I also think that edge is needed. I've been flipping with edge receiver, whichever one is more in position. And right now it's Jermaine Johnson. Jermaine Johnson is arguably a top 7 player in this draft, so you could go with him. I still think their receiver is in play at 8, but notably receivers fall more often than they do get picked really high, other than last year where 3 receivers went in the top 10. Last year's receiver class had some stars. Anyways, at 9, the Seattle is up. I would say this is similar to what the Panthers, where it's offensive line or edge. I don't think quarterback should be in play here. They possibly could trade DK Metcalf if they don't want to pay him, or DK Metcalf wants to leave. His contract ends after this season. And with this, I would go with Charles Cross. Biggest need is offensive tackle. Dwayne Brown is gone. The Jets at 10, you have the pick of the litter here. You have Jameson Williams, you have Sauce Gardner, you have Kyle Hamilton. So if I were the Jets in the situation, I would actually try to trade back to get more draft capital, and then maybe trade back up into the first round in the 20s. But it's, what do you need the most? Do you need Sauce Gardner, which you signed DJ Reed, you have Bryce Hall, you have Brandon Eccles, you have Michael Carter II in the slot. But it's a heavy wide receiver league, and you need cornerbacks to stop them. Or do you go with Kyle Hamilton, who's up in this draft, in this mock draft, has fallen all the way to 10? Do you want to get him? And plus, look at this is my argument. If Kyle Hamilton falls to 10, you gotta take him. Not only is he arguably one of the best arguably the best player in the draft, and especially, but safety is becoming one of the highest, or is becoming a higher value. It's becoming a higher value position. We saw this in edge rusher like a few years ago, where nowadays you really need edge rusher because the quarterbacks are so good, and we saw this with quarterback as well. And my prediction is that safeties are going to become a way bigger value, or a position of value, because if you can stop the receivers from just going deep, and if you can also play them high and safeties can tackle, then you're going to do really well on defense because you have that extra layer of coverage with really good safeties. And Kyle Hamilton would be able to stop guys like Jalen Waddle or Tyreek Hill way down the field. And I like him. I don't like picking Kyle Hamilton at 4 for the Jets. I would much rather them take him at 10. The Washington football team, if cornerback falls to you, you could pick it, but I think their receiver is still in play. Guys like Garrett Wilson would fit really well with what Carson Wentz likes to do. Fit like a Michael Pittman role almost. The Vikings, this is best defensive back available, and right now that is Sauce Gardner. I know that Sauce Gardner probably goes in the top 10, but there are only 10 picks, and there are only so many guys that can go in the top 10, and I'm predicting that 4 edges are going to go, and I think at least 1 quarterback will be there. And in this mock draft, 2 quarterbacks went, so that pushes a lot of value into the 10s. The Texans are back up. This is your second biggest need, which is cornerback. Derek Stingley Jr. is my cornerback too. The Ravens, interior offensive line, interior defensive line, whichever one is the best. Also edge, because of Darius Smith, but I don't think any of the top edges will fall. We're going to go with Jordan Davis. The Eagles, you have the pick of the litter for receiver. So even though Jameson Williams did tear his ACL in the Natty. Teams still. I've been saying this. Teams re-sign players. They still give a lot of value to players that have torn ACLs. Michael Gallup, Robert Woods, Chris Godwin. So Jameson Williams is still going to be a super high pick. I don't think he's falling as far as people think. The second pick, Trent McDuffie, is my cornerback 3, so I would go there. The Chargers, you addressed edge with Khalil Mack. You addressed corner, so this would be this would either be a big run stuffer, which I think is still in play, or it would be your second offensive tackle position. And I'm in favor all day, every day, of helping your quarterback as much as you can. The Saints, you re-signed James, or famous Jameis. You re-signed Jameis Winston. So like I predicted, quarterback isn't their need anymore. They have him for 2 years. They have a layaway period to possibly rebuild and to see what they have. And my next best pick here is probably Drake London. 19, the Eagles are back up. This is the best edge rusher, and it's going to be George Karlaftis. The Steelers, you got Mitch Trubisky, interior offensive line, interior defensive line. Najee Harris would benefit greatly with interior offensive line. And I would go with Zion Johnson. He just has that great versatility. The Patriots, you lose J.C. Jackson. You lost Stephon Gilmore. This is cornerback, and I would go with Andre Booth Jr. The Packers, this was the Raiders' pick originally, and they had to give up. Why am I forgetting Devontae Adams' name? Come on, that's a rookie move. They traded Devontae Adams for a first and a second. So with their first pick, they just have to address receiver. I don't think Treylon Burks is falling as far as people say. I know his combine wasn't that good, but he was awesome at Arkansas. So they got to pick the best receiver available at 22. The Cardinals, best secondary, or if you want to throw in maybe a little David Njoku, who did tear his Achilles. He tore his Achilles at his pro day, and that's a hard thing. That's a really upsetting thing. You got to feel for the guy. He's probably going to lose millions of dollars due to that injury, but it's par for the game. It happens, and that's the risk that players are unfortunately taking when they do pro day, the combine, when they play their senior season. That's part of the risk. But the Cardinals lose Chandler Jones, so you got to try to replace that position. And I think David Njoku has either a good comeback story or he falls possibly all the way to the second round. The Cowboys, they did not get anybody in free agency, I'm pretty sure. I don't know if they signed anybody big. I mean, they re-signed their safeties like Javon Curse, and I guess they didn't really do that well. They did lose Randy Gregory, so edge is still a need. You need to replace him. But are these guys worth of going in the first round? Possibly. Or I don't think safety is going to go in the first. I don't think another safety goes in the first round unless it's late first round. So you could go with interior offensive line. You lost Connor Williams, yeah, I think so. So would you go with the interior offensive line, or would you try to boost that defensive line, which I think that they still need help on? The Buffalo Bills, this is best interior offensive lineman, with not center, because you re-signed. They already re-signed their center to, I think, 2 years. Kenyon Green. The Titans traded for Robert Woods, 6th-round pick. Even though he did have a torn ACL, I think he plays for them this season. So I think that linebacker goes back into play. I think that Nakobe Dean does slip a little bit because I think that teams are going to try to address more needs in linebacker. And we saw like great linebackers like small, great weak side linebackers that fell last year like JOK. So possibly Nakobe Dean even falls to the second round, which is crazy to think because he's such a good player. The Tampa Bay Bucks got back Tom Brady, got back Chris Godwin. You have Russell Gage. You brought back Rashad Perriman. I don't think your receiver is much of a need. Carlton Davis resigned, but that cornerback depth last year was their biggest problem. And when injuries arised, their secondary was screwed. So I'm going to go with Kyer Elam. The Packers are back up. I'm not going to lie. If they have to double dip on receiver, they have to double dip on receiver. Or they could go with the next best edge like Boye Mafe. Obviously, you cut. He's on the Vikings now. Not Preston Smith. They cut their edge rusher. Anyways, the Chiefs are up. This is obviously they just traded away Tyreek Hill, the fastest player in the game probably. Good route runner, really good. He's like a center fielder, like track. He's got like center fielder tracking skills. So it's really hard to replace him, but you're gonna try to. It's gonna be really hard to try to replace him. But you're gonna try Han Dotson, also great 50-50 ball skills, and they're immediately back up. And the Chiefs, you lose Tre'Davious Ward, so I can see a guy like Kyler Gordon going in the first round, or they could go with safety help because they did lose Tyrann Mathieu. The Bengals, I'm not going to lie, I think that interior offensive line right now is off the board unless you want to go with Tyler Linderbaum or you want to try to get the next best cornerback because Eli Apple, you just can't throw Eli Apple out there. They also lost CJ Uzama, so tight end becomes one of their needs. It's interesting to see what they do. They could go with another guard, but I think that they probably should go with the center position. Tyler Linderbaum is one of the best center prospects coming out in a long time. And then the Lions are back up. You addressed quarterback, so you could address your first or second biggest need. They could go with edge, or they can go with safety. I think that Lewis Seen or Jackson Hill likely go in this position. So we're going to go with Jackson Hill. That's going to be the mock draft. Let me know your thoughts about where your teams could go. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And thank you for watching.